What's up, Rockstars? I got a great video for you guys today. I have a campaign that just launched literally minutes ago for me, so it's brand new for you guys. So any early birds, anything like that, all that will be linked down below. But we got a ton to go over, especially Kanban's game that seems to be underperforming. Let's discuss that at the end. All right, no fussing around with anything. If you appreciate the video, of course, subscribe. Maybe check out that Patreon link down below or the join button down there as well. Let's go ahead and talk about Shadows of Brimstone, Lost Tombs, and the Hell Train. I actually have something to show you. All right, as you'll see behind me, there's Shadows of Brimstone Adventures that finally came in just yesterday. So talk about close calls, but they did it. They launched the campaign after I got it. So still counts. I'm a little out of breath. It's very heavy. You'll see an unboxing of that very soon. Subscribe if you want to see that. Shadows of Brimstone, Lost Tombs, and the Hell Train just launched. And literally, they've already broken $100,000, which is saying a lot. We'll talk about Mordred from Kanban in a little bit. But 13 days to go. 461 backers, and it is something that has been highly anticipated. They have an Egyptian theme, which is something I know my wife would be interested in. It'd be something I'd be interested in too. They got all sorts of mummies and Anubites, jackals, and scarabs, and tomb kings, and cult of Horus. Not the Horus heresy though, not that wrong Horus, but seriously, there's a lot of cool stuff there. Obviously, you're very thematic and very different looking than a lot of the other stuff when it comes to the actual like the map tiles and stuff like that. And then of course they also have the Impossible Hell Train, which sounds like a very fun theme for the game. Essentially you're on this train and everybody's trying to haunt it and rob it and get to it, and you're fighting off demons and this hellborn engineer and just a lot of crazy stuff like that. Soulless and grotesques and train robbers and just all kinds of wackiness that you typically only get in Shadows of Brimstone. So if you didn't know, this game is something that can consume your life. I know a lot of people have had their lives consumed. My condolences to your loved ones as you've bought I don't know how much of this game. You can buy a lot. It can be a lot. It is an interesting game. It's a rolled move, which is something like nobody does anymore, but it has some crazy mechanics, and the town phase is something people adore. They really do like it. So there's a lot here, and then of course you can get all sorts of other stuff. This is compatible with everything else. They do it all old school. They do it their own way. Flying Frog Productions is really crazy. They do some really good campaigns while it's live, but then afterwards it just cuts off, and you'll just like not hear from them ever again until you'll get like their updates where they're like cold and they don't really respond to you or talk about you at all. It's very corporatized, and it's the weirdest feeling ever. You pretty much feel forgotten, but they always do deliver, and it's always a whole lot, and it's pretty fairly priced as well. But they do it such old school, like with the like they don't have renders all over the place. They do a lot of these pictures and stuff like that. And also, I imagine they could do the renders too. They just this is the style they do. It's just what they do. I don't know why. It just is. All these are alt gender miniatures, so you can be a bounty hunter, but then you can be the female or a male bounty hunter, stuff like that. Soldier of Fortune, and then you have like sorcerers and all sorts of hell riders and stuff like that. So a whole bunch of different stuff that you can get there. And then of course you have the railroad board pack already on there as an add-on, and they will add more. There's going to be plenty more. This is going to explode, and I imagine this is going to be pretty well backed. They have a very passionate following for sure. If you look at this, the scarab level is about 120, gets you one of those. If you back at the 120, you can also get the railroad, or you can do 285 for the early bird. As a comparison, the last one, Adventures, was 275 for both, and you got less miniatures. So this is actually more for about $10 difference. Considering the difference in like how much, yeah, estimated delivered 2020, I just got this yesterday. So whatever, it's going to be late. It's going to take a long time. They're very slow. And again, you won't hear a lot, but eventually you will get your game. They always do. You do have to build the miniatures, so FYI on that, though they're not very big multi-piece. But there's a lot here. You can get the whole thing for $290, but just know, again, it will go up. There's going to be a lot more than what's on offer right now. By a lot, especially in their pledge manager, where they'll add even more stuff. So, word of warning there. All right, next up, we also have Scarface 1920 Bloody Business. Just as an FYI, they're on their very last day, and they broke 1 million. Congratulations to them. That is well done, Redson Games. To do a reprint expansion to break 1 million like this with 6,000 backers, very impressive, I must say. I think that is saying a lot about the quality of the game, and it definitely means I need to get it to the table. I have it. I've unboxed it. Have not played it yet. Need to do it. There are 3 new expansions. Really just 2 new factions and then like the main expansion thing. And it adds a whole lot of stuff. It's a typical kind of like a Dune Emporium kind of expansion where it's like it adds to the board and allows you to do new stuff. same kind of thing here, plus the new factions, of course, as well. So a lot of fun, very interesting and fairly unique game like theme where you play as these people trying to like bring in like your alcohol and drugs and stuff, and it's like totally wacky, and you get to like, you know, like cement people's feet and throw them in the river and stuff like that. Just some crazy stuff going on. So definitely interesting. Another announcement is Sankokushin miniature. That's right, they are not dead. The game kind of is for a while, but the miniatures are still alive and well. And there will be a miniature update, Eye of the Sun. It'll be posted on July 20th. Stay tuned for that. Again, if you are interested in seeing that, it'll be right here. Go on and subscribe. I'll be sure to show you that miniature. I'm sure it'll be really cool. We have Swords and Sorcery Abyssal Legends. They are almost at 200,000, doing quite well. 12 days to go. Again, old style kind of stuff here. Like this is the expansion. This has to be one of the weakest like pictures of an expansion I have seen in years on Kickstarter. Like it is like normally people are really good at just showing you a ton of stuff. Like look at all the stuff you get. It's like boom, there you go, right there. By the way, he glows in the dark. They have a lot of glow in the dark stuff, and then we're going to be covering that in a little bit with another thing that's coming right up. But yeah, the glow in the dark mini, like it's funny, I guess. It's kind of cool, but like when are you ever going to actually do that? I don't know, because like you're going to be playing the game. You can't play the game in the dark. There's a better way to do that. But as you can see, just the typical sword and sorcery stuff, a lot of tiles, see, look how many tiles you get, right? And then they show this. It's like, this looks like so little. So it's funny that they just don't show it off well. I think they would do better. It's funny, there are people that are focused on the game and people that are focused on the campaign. By people, I mean developers. And the skill sets are very different. And I've always felt like Ares Games here definitely focuses on the game, which is probably good, but it means it's a little bit of a harder sell just because they don't quite show it quite as well, right? There's a lot of or blank space here, and it just, I don't know, it's just not the most well-crafted showing I have seen. But for people that are fans of this, they are super pumped about this. And look at this gameplay info. Again, more on that later when we talk about Command's Mordred. But yeah, they're busy doing stretch goals and stuff like this. This is a very nice system, by the way. They essentially show you, hey, this is something you have to get even if you back all in. This is something that you can get, but you already get one copy of. And then the other ones are just like, hey, these are reprints. So you can kind of just look at the little stamp there and base it off that, which is kind of cool. I dig that. I'm glad they're definitely focused on your experience with the game, even in the campaign. Tales of Evil Final Chapter has launched. 5 days to go. 28,000 raised. They only wanted 11,360 backers. This is probably on par for, I think, what they probably expected. Definitely on par for what they do. Very indie. Very much you either love it or you don't. It's like a kind of a cheesy, slightly cartoony look at the horror genre, where, you know, you're like the babysitter trying to, you know, escape a crazy person or something like that, or you're like the kids, you know, that are being babysat and stuff like that. You can see like Poltergeist and stuff like that here. The minis are silly. Again, very indie. Look at that blurry mini. Like, what in the world is that even? Very dark. Like, the contrast is okay, but it's way too dark. It just... There's some oddities around that kind of stuff, right? That you're just like, and then you get standees and miniatures. So it's like, okay. And then it's like, you know, how was this one used? I don't know. But look at this glow in the dark box. That is awesome, because you know what you do is you turn off the lights when you like leave the game room or something like that, right? And when you do that, boom, Tales of Evil is going to be glowing there on your Calyx shelf. I think that's a cool idea. That's something you can actually see and appreciate a lot more than the miniatures, but you might turn the light off and be like, oh, look cool. And then you got to turn back on to actually play the game, right? So, unless somebody see, they got glow-in-the-dark dice. Maybe you could do that with like everything. Get glow-in-the-dark cards and all that stuff, and you just play in darkness. Somebody make that. That'd be weird and probably cumbersome and not useful, but also kind of nifty. Anyway, yeah, a lot of tokens, stuff like that. You guys have seen like this before. This like Boogeyman has already been out before. Again, glow-in-the-dark dice, all that kind of stuff. There's the babysitter cards, and search and Boogeyman cards, nightmare cards, dark and light cards, and event cards. So you got all that kind of stuff. A little flashlight, first player token. Very funny to see that. And of course, the front and back is on or off, right? So they definitely appreciate the theme a lot. I think they're doing well there. You get a little kitten or a little puppy, and they're like super happy to be there, I guess. I don't know what's going on with them. They do have like this, which is weird because this Stranger Tales I always thought was like a lot more hardcore. Like it just looks more realistic, right? But then that's just in the miniature design, because then you get like this kind of goofy Book of Evil paperback book here, or you know, like this little cartoon look of a town and stuff. So it's just, I don't know. It's an odd smorgasbord of stuff. There's a lot here though, and they do have a pretty cheap $51 STL pack with 21 minis, including these 2 big cans that I didn't see posted anywhere else. So I don't know what those are for, but they do seem to have a very thick base. So you're going to want to hollow those out if they aren't hollowed, because that's a lot of resin otherwise. But anyway, they're doing a lot of day stretch goals, so this will expand more. So I will cover this again probably in about 5 days. Stay tuned for that. We'll see kind of where it ends. All right, next up we have Mixrack Modular Paint Storage and Hobby Workstation. This is by Grim Rabbit Games. They've done a fantastic job here. In my opinion, they have maybe found their calling. At 81,434 raised, for them that's quite well. And honestly, I think if this delivers and actually does well, I think it's going to take off a little bit. These paints end up everywhere otherwise, but it'd be very cool. What I can see actually happen is not necessarily storing all of your paints in here, but having one like rack in the very front, and that's the one where you're like currently using your paint. So you just stuck them there when you're done instead of on your desk. I think that would be super cool. But they have a whole bunch of options. They have a modular one like this. They have it where you can fit in a calyx. I'll show you that in a moment. One's on your wall or like a whole booth station thing. A whole bunch of stuff there. Very, very cool to see. This right here is the calyx racks. So essentially you actually form this in your calyx thing, and it actually has a double tape adhesive or whatever, so it's not going to damage your calyx, but you can put it in there and keep your even paints right there if you paint next to your games or something like that. That's super cool to see, and again, it will save you a little bit. $44 for I think 4 racks. So, and they break down how much those will hold too, right? So depending on you know what you're actually painting with, whether it's Vallejo or Pro Acryl or anything like that. So very cool to see. Again, they have a whole bunch of different options. I think it's awesome. I really do. You definitely can get it pricey. It does come with the metal frame and all that kind of stuff. And again, this would store so many paints. It probably still isn't enough for how much paints I have. Though I don't know. Like, let's see. It could store 600 Vallejo. Okay, maybe it is enough. That's a lot. There is some modularity you can do with it as well. Like they show stuff like this, right? The sprue holder, hanging shelf for like paint tubes and stuff, or display things or drawers you can pull out, different, even a cup holder, stuff like that. So very cool to see. And I think it's something that's pretty neat. And hopefully some of you might be like, oh man, I'm glad you showed me that. In which case, you're welcome. Let's talk about Mordred though. Let's talk about, come on. Let's talk about performance on Kickstarter. And let's talk about the new way of doing things versus the old way of doing things. So this is Mordred. If you know, this is the Blood Rage 2.0 as far as I can tell. It looks very much like Blood Rage. It tends to act a little bit like that with Chaos coming at the end instead of the actual Ragnarok or anything like that. And you're doing your monsters that you're able to get and stuff like that. There's some differences, obviously, but there's a lot of similarities too. So the art is gorgeous. I really love that. The miniature design's super cool. It looks cool. And I imagine it plays pretty well too. The reason I say imagine is because there's not really a lot else going on for it when it comes to this. Like, they do good at showing you each faction and stuff like that, but so far this hasn't told me really anything about the game, right? Like, even the monsters, super cool monsters, really dig it. But again, so far still not really anything. And the knights, okay, those are awesome too. Love that. Yep, that's all cool. And then still nothing. We do have a link to a rulebook. So if you click on this, it will take you to the rulebook. That being said, it takes you to 15 pages of the rulebook, and maybe that's the whole rulebook. I don't know. I mean, it's not bad. It says work in progress, but it seems pretty well done to me. There's not a whole lot here, and I think that's awesome as well, I guess, if it's complete. But besides that, unless you read up on it, you get the painted minis, you get the stretchables. By the way, they do have a dwarf on a frog as a miniature, which is super cool. I really dig that. So, I mean, it looks fun, but that's it. No gameplay. Right? Like, I showed you the Sword and Sorcery, where at the bottom here, they're showing you, hey, here's the key concepts, all right, of Sword and Sorcery. Hey, here, down here, scroll. Okay, come on now. Right here, yeah, see, look at that, gameplay features. And then they just, like, show you, here's the big things that you're doing, you get to see it, you get to read about it. Again, did not take a whole lot of time, just a little bit like that, sum it up. But nope, in this one you get nothing. And I think that's kind of the new way, everyone from Awakened Realms to Command to all the big names, that's just kind of what they do. They tend to use IP if they can, or they're just their own past history and like fandom, and they just throw on some miniatures, throw on some pretty art, link a rulebook, call it good. And I'm not sure that's really cutting it anymore. It really failed to build a lot of passion here. There's just not a lot going on here. 230,000, this has been out for like 2 days now that I've recorded this. I'm a backer, by the way. Like, this looks awesome to me. I'm not logged in, apparently. Sometimes it logs me out. I don't know why. But anyway, it's just a 1, so I'm at the 110 Fae pledge. It looks like fun. I love Blood Rage. I would love kind of another spin on it, almost like a Zombicide thing. I'm all down for that. I tried Rising Sun. It wasn't my cup of tea per se. There were some issues with it. This one looks a lot more closer to what I would like. So I'm pumped for it. I wish they did better at building up hype campaign and stuff like that. It's just not enough just to throw in a trailer. The trailer looks great. Like, watch this video. It looks awesome. I think it does. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on, come on, just really not like funding super a whole lot anymore? Definitely far from the top dog. Is it because they have so many outstanding? They have a ton. They have about 8 games or more, or they haven't even like delivered everything yet. So they're definitely like releasing way more than they're delivering. And so that number, it seems to almost just keep rising when it comes to that. Maybe that's it, because they still also have the Metal Gear Solid, and they just announced some other ones, and so like the Monty Python and stuff like that. So they have on BackerKit at least 2 different pre-orders up right now for other games on top of that. It seems to me like it's just inundating it too much. It kind of reminds me of like these companies that can't handle IP, and so they release too much of it, right? Like what they did with Star Wars and stuff like that, where it's like suddenly, or even like way back when in video games, when the Guitar Hero and a Rock Band craze was there, and they released 5 different games of those in a year. 5. And it was too much, and it killed the entire industry around those games because they just inundated with it. It was too popular, and you're getting too much until people tire of it. Is that what it is? Are we just tired of this stuff? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to have a discussion with you about this, because I'm kind of curious. But also, tell me if I missed anything. If there's something you would like me to cover, I would love to hear from that. And again, if you appreciated this video, there is a like button, there is a subscribe button, and maybe even that Patreon and join link. I would thank you so much for it, of course. But thanks for just being here anyway. Links down in the description below to everything and more. Take a look at that. Take care, guys. Have a great day. Bye, guys.